All right, and we're live. All right, so welcome everybody to another episode of Leadership by Design. I am your co-host Siobhan Olivero here with my other amazing co-host Craig Baumel, and we have some special guests with us. Craig, I'm so excited. We have lots of people here. So I want to thank Tony Rodriguez for coming on, and Leslie Nicole for coming on, and Jonathan. Thank you guys for being here. And tonight's topic, we're in a series that we're talking about, which is the top mistakes that business owners make. And tonight we are talking about the mistakes of hiring. Specifically, it was going to be about hiring too fast, but I have a feeling that we can talk about all kinds of different mistakes on hiring and what's been right and what's been wrong and the mistakes that we make in that. So, to remind everybody, we do this show every single week right here on Facebook Live every Tuesday at 6:30, where we talk about leadership by design, being able to design your business, your culture, creating leaders, creating the culture and the business that you want by designing it through leadership and how you want to do that. And so we work on coaching and helping people through the mistakes that we've made. I'm a business owner and I've made tons of mistakes. Hiring, I can't even tell you, between the mistakes I've made in hiring and bad marketing, I can write a book, I think. So, so Craig, do you want to get us started on hiring mistakes?
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Yes, it's an awesome introduction, and I am so glad that we have such amazing people on here as well, because they can probably uh, commiserate with us in our experiences, as well as giving experiences of their own and possibly other ideas as to how to alleviate or navigate the waters. My experience has mainly been in the little bit of experience I've had personally in my own businesses, but specifically in those that I've worked with. It's been spanning over 20 industries at this point in time, and every single time the experience that I've seen that people go through is these mistakes happen not only at the beginning, but throughout the years of business. Right, all the mistakes that we've spoken about before: not having a plan, spending too much money first, expecting fast results for little to no effort. We all get into these patterns of stepping into what we want, the outcome that we want. And sometimes we want those outcomes either to happen too quickly, or really it's just the outcome that we're so driven for that we don't pay attention to all the stepping stones that happen along the way. Right, there's always the three phases we hear about: the arduous to momentum to abundant. It it whenever you're taking the next step, whenever you're going to that next goal, there's always going to be a little bit of that arduous to get into. There's always going to be that work that has to be put into it. And I guess the one that we started talking about today was hiring too soon, right? And hiring too soon, I think, doesn't just matter. It doesn't just mean about the beginning of hiring too soon, but people talk about uh, the hire slow, fire fast, right? You hear that from Gary Vee a lot. And people, I think, want to fill that position. I don't care if you've been in business for 10 years. They have a position that needs to get filled. They need somebody to take on the roles and responsibilities. They don't want to stretch out their current resources, and they hire, right? So again, it doesn't make a difference if you're a business early on in your business or if you're later on. But what people want to take the time to do is hire slow, right? Recognize who you're speaking to, not just in the interview process, but what goes on in the interview process. What conversations are you having with the people that you're bringing on? What are you looking for in that relationship to the job title, to the description, um, to the responsibilities that that person is going to handle? And what about the relationship that that person is going to have to the other people in the business, right? Culture is such a big thing. It's an elusive idea that so many people speak about, but not recognizing even where it starts, where it stands with. I know that Tony is a business strategist, and I'm sure he can talk to this as well. But any business owner can recognize the difference between a free-flowing organization, one that the people have shared beliefs and values. To talk about Simon Sinek a lot in the work that I do, and his whole idea is that any community, any country, any city, any place in the world where people have grown together and thrived was all because they had shared beliefs and values. And a business, people in a business should have shared beliefs and values. I'm not necessarily talking about religious beliefs, just in what they're trying to create and why they want to create it, and hopefully why they want to do it together, right? So I guess that's where we start with. Question of hiring too soon can be anywhere from hiring at the beginning when you don't necessarily have the money for it and you want to spend the money because you don't want to, like we talked about last time, we don't want to do the money, we don't want to do the work, so we want somebody else to do it for us because we don't want to get into it, and then you waste all the money, you waste all the time, and you never even learn those parts of the business that you really need to for yourself. Or later on, when you just want to fill that position and you hand it off to somebody that it might not necessarily be the right fit for your business, for your culture, or for the responsibilities that come along with it.
Yeah. All great points. All great points. Amazing. And Tony and I were just talking about that before we went live, that, hire fast, firing slow, or hire slow, firing fast, concept of what we need to do as business owners. And that is certainly a trap that people get in, Craig, that you mentioned, I think is so key, is that we tend to hire too fast when we're wanting to hire. Like, we've got a position, I've got a position right now that I need filled. I'm hiring for another associate attorney. I need it filled. And as much as I need it filled, I'm in that position of step back, take it slow, because you're right. I need that person that's going to fit the beliefs and the culture and what I'm trying to build in the firm. And I think another take that we can go on hiring too fast is that when someone's hiring too soon, they haven't quite figured out what their vision is, or what their culture is, or what they want in their business. And so they just start bringing people in and hiring too soon before they even know. You can't guide your staff and your employees in the vision of your firm and where you want to take the firm if you don't know it yourself. And so all of those things have to be worked out. And then one of the other key things that I was taught and coached as a business owner is to never hire somebody that you make irreplaceable, right? So you never want to not know how to do something in your own business, so that when you hire somebody in a key position, they're the ones that know how to do it, and now they're holding you hostage, essentially. So hiring too soon, like you talked about, Craig, of just, we don't want to do it and we don't want to know how to do it, so we hire somebody for it. But you have to know how. As the business owner, you have to have worked in that spot, so you know how to do it, so you're not held hostage by somebody in that position. Tony, you look like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, that is so freaking true. That is so true. My assistant tells me all the time, she jokingly says, you can't fire me. I says, yeah, I know, but don't worry about it. I know where you live, because she does so much that it's not that I don't know how to do it. I don't want to do it. Right. So you hire someone that is going to fill that position because you need to have that done. But it's funny, because if she was to leave me tomorrow, I'd be jammed up, because I'm just not used to going through the processes of technology that she's going through. So it is important to know everything, to know every single job, from sweeping the floor to changing the light bulb, so to speak, right? Because if you've got to step in, even if it's just temporary for a day, you need to be able to do those things. But it is funny how we become so reliant on those people that we hire. And the other thing that I'm going to say about that is, and this is a mistake that I've certainly made, we tend to, as humans, we tend to we've heard, you guys have heard it all before, right? People like people who are like themselves, right? So one of the biggest mistakes I think that people do is they hire people that are like them. Like, I want to go out and be able, I love this guy, I love this woman. We can go out and have a drink, we can joke, we have similar likes and everything else. This is awesome. It's great for rapport building. It sucks to fill a position that you need to fill, especially if it's to do something that you don't really, it's not your forte. It's not your cup of tea, or something that you want to do. So many times we hire people that are like us. Well, then you got the same problem that you've got now. Right. If you don't want to make those cold calls, if you don't want to write those briefs, if you don't, whatever it is that you're hiring the position for, if it's something that's tedious and you don't feel like doing it, and you hire someone like you, guess what? They don't like to do it either. So as awkward as it is to hire someone that you're like, man, I'm not a really huge fan of this person. It's okay. You're not going home with them. You don't have to go to dinner with them. Mm-hmm. So it's important to hire the right person for the job, not the person that you like best for the job. And that's a mistake that I've certainly made in the past. And boy, have I paid for it. because then you don't fire quick enough because, oh, well, you know, they've been here so long, they're loyal. Well, yeah, but they suck at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you've got to make that really hard decision. And Sean talks about that all the time, right? Is being in a loving way. I forget the expression that he uses exactly, but it's about being stern. You know, he talks about his coach all the time, how, you know, he didn't care. Like this morning he was talking about kids would like eat ketchup for lunch. So they'd puke when they vomited, the coach would think it was blood and they'd have to stop. Right. So it's putting pressure and forcing them into being uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable for you to be in that position. But I think it's important to hire the right person for the job. And it doesn't matter whether you really like them or not. Obviously, if you don't like somebody, I can't hire somebody that I don't like straight out, right? But it's not somebody that I've got to be best buddies with, because I had someone working for me for a decade too long. A decade. That's 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's 3,560 days.
I can't say that I've
Wait,
had
Tony, how many minutes is
for
that?
10 years.
I don't know. I haven't done the math. The 10 times 356 was easy. Beyond that, it gets a little complicated.
I can't say that I've had somebody working for me for 10 years too long, but I certainly have had people working for me for, you know, months too long, or even, you know, weeks too long. And you know, but you get, as you, the longer you're in business, and I think, and the more that you're around people, and the more you see these things, you know, the better you get at spotting quicker when that person's not what you need in your business. And I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine today, and she had someone that was in a managing position in the business, and within 2 weeks knew that this person was not going to be right for the managing position in the business, and called this person in and said, nope, I'm taking the management part away. You're not going to be the managing person in this part, you know, in this area anymore. And the person took it very hard and very personally, and got a little angry and was like, it's only been 2 weeks. How do you know that I'm not right for this management position? And she's like, well, the fact that you are asking me how I know whether or not you're right for this position after 2 weeks tells me you're not right to be in a management position after 2 weeks. Because if you can't answer that question as to why you're not right, when this has happened and this has happened and this has happened and this has happened, and you haven't seen those things, then that's how I know you're not right for this position, right? So, and it's really being aware of those things. Yet, you know, I've had people in my own business where I didn't know for quite some time that they weren't right, was, well, frankly, I'm not in my office, right? My office runs a lot without me, so I'm not there. So I don't see a lot of things that are going on. So having the right person in that key position too, that is your right hand, that has your back, that's watching your business for you, that can say, hey, this person's not meshing well in the culture and in what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build. Maybe you need to come in and take a look at that. It's also key as well in hiring for that right position as well, if you're not physically in your business very often, like me. So, all right.
Yeah, I think that one of the important things, sorry to jump in again,
Oh, go ahead.
is to have more than one interview, because anybody can ace the first interview. Anybody can, like, plaster on the makeup and, brush up on all the high points and, just be, sleep 12 hours a day before, whatever people need to do, whatever they do for an interview. I haven't gotten on an interview in I don't even know, 30 years. I have no idea. So whatever.
I thought you were gonna keep that from us. Yeah. Come on.
I don't even know, to be honest with you. Probably 30 years. Because I've been self-employed for 30 years. So that would be why, by the way. And I've had, so the crazy thing is I've had a crazy host of businesses, everything from a construction company to a real estate office to a bar, restaurant, and nightclub to an equestrian center with trainers and stable hands, and just an enormous variety in my life, which sometimes variety is great, but sometimes it's a little too much. So the fascinating thing is really that is making sure that you hire, and especially in the horse industry, that was a really interesting one, because anybody can be on their best behavior on the first interview when everything's okay. But maybe calling somebody kind of out of the blue, hey, can you pop in an hour? or 2 hours and kind of just get them kind of off their game and just see how they do. You know,
Mhm.
that's not just, or you just have a phone interview. Hey, listen, can we do a Zoom call in an hour and 2 hours just to kind of see what they're like when they're not prepared for it for that amount of time or whatever it is. So it's really super important to hire the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes
So
along with the hiring too soon aspect, right? After one interview, you have one interview with 3 or 4 people, and you pick the one that you like from that one interview. And you're right, Tony. People are on their best behavior, if you will, right? When they're in that interview, you don't really get to know them. So when we're talking about hiring slow, that's one of the things we're talking about, right? Multiple interviews, multiple meetings with them, and over an extended period of time as part of the hiring slow. So you're getting to know who they are. When I talk to people or I coach people on it, I'm essentially like, look, when you're looking at hiring somebody, it's almost like a courtship that you're starting to go in when you're interviewing with them, right? Because you're not gonna get engaged after the first date, hopefully, right? And that's the interview. And you're not gonna get married after you go on the second date, hopefully, right? And so, and that's what we're looking at. So, you're treating it almost like a courtship, it's like we don't go from first date to marriage, right? Which is then offering them to come in and take over whatever they're going to be taking over in your business. So you're treating it almost like a courtship and a little bit slower as you're getting to know them. I read another thing from another business expert, which I thought was great, which is not calling the people's references, right? Actually not doing that, because they are obviously intentionally putting the references on there that are going to give them the best light of who they are. So actually, you've got their resume, you've got places that they've worked previously, and it's just calling those other places, right? And getting somebody from that other workplace on the phone and talking, hey, tell me about this person. How are they when they worked there? If you can do that, you'll need to know whatever the laws are in the state for business wise and what you can and can't do and who you can and can't call. But as far as I know, at least here in Florida, there isn't anything that says I can't pick up the phone and call somebody's prior employer and just say, hey, tell me what you can tell me about this person. Now, there are limits on what you can say about the person as a prior employer. There's nothing that prevents me from picking up the phone and calling them.
Well, listen, the way I see that rule, by the way, just here's a little hack. And yeah, this is swimming in the gray water, right? But they can't tell you doesn't mean you can't ask.
Correct.
So make the call. If they tell you, they tell you. If they don't tell you, listen, I can't really disclose that. That's fine. But more often than not, they might tell you a little something.
And I think one of the key indicators too is when they tell you, I can't really comment on that. That should tell you what you need to know. If they were phenomenal employees, they're going to tell you they were phenomenal.
If they say, wow, it's so horrible to lose this person. I'm sorry to see them go. Then you know that you're good. If there's like, well, we're in litigation. Okay.
Well, there's, and unfortunately, it can work out both ways, right? Because it could be in a situation like that, and it could very well be that employer was there, right? Also looking for when somebody's just desperate for a job, when somebody just needs a job, they can jump into multiple jobs. And I've been in a situation, I was actually working with somebody where they had somebody that they were looking to hire that had actually had 3 very short previous work experiences. I'm like, okay, there's a red flag there, right? Because why would they keep jumping from job to job? Like what was going on over there? It actually turned out that they were just so desperate for a job that they were just jumping into anything that was available, and they were getting hired too quickly. They were like, I'll go work anywhere, but unfortunately, a lot of places you work are not great places to work, and it could cause other issues. But I've heard of so many different ways of doing it. Like talk about multiple interviews, also where you interview, how you interview. You could add on different scenarios, right? I've heard of people that they'll do the first interview in like a coffee shop and do another interview in the office and do another interview, like just somewhere going to have dinner somewhere, like, and it's always different scenarios so that the person can, different parts of their personality might come about. Tony Hsieh, I think really, and I was having this conversation actually with somebody that many of you know, Joseph Varghese, a couple of weeks ago after Tony Hsieh had passed away, because he had done some work with him and I had done a lot of studying of the work that he did with Zappos and other companies. But he really changes something called change organizational management, right? Which really structures inside of corporations how you organize management, who is in what position and who they have underneath them, how many people should be underneath them, right? And you can fit into it. He actually, the way he set up Zappos and other organizations that he did other work for, changed that entire industry, because instead of it sort of being a decision as to how everybody below acted, it became how everybody above acted, right? It's now more of a top down creating culture rather than bottom up. Everybody has to work a certain way, and then the bosses can just be behind closed doors. What he ended up doing with a lot of that was, when somebody starts a job at Zappos, and I don't know how many of you have ever seen this, but when somebody starts, especially a corporate job, they have a certain amount of time where they have to spend it's like 10 days or 2 weeks in different parts, in different jobs within the company. So like somebody takes an executive position at Zappos, they have to work 2 weeks in the warehouse, 2 weeks as a customer service rep, 2 weeks as a shipper, 2 weeks, and all different places within the company, specifically so that they really understand what goes into it. And then after, I think it's like 3 months, you get offered a certain amount of money to quit. Then after 6 months, you get a certain amount of money to quit. Then after a year, you get another amount of money to quit. And it's always, they're raising it up and they're saying, listen, if you want this amount of money, great, you take the money and you go. If you want to stay, then stay and be fully in. So it really, you're never actually known as a set employee of Zappos until like after a year of working there. Like that's one. Ray Dalio also, I don't know how many of you have ever seen the book or read the book Principles that he wrote, but his ideology of company culture and structure is so phenomenal, and his idea of radical transparency comes down to the whole basis of this hire fast, fire slow, reversed, so that people understand you might hire slow, but when you fire fast, it's not even necessarily getting in a bad position. Sorry, you're no good for this company, get out. He'll have somebody in 3 different positions over an 18-month period before he lets them go, because they might not work here. Obviously, if you're seeing somebody who's just not capable of following through with their responsibilities or not being proper with the other employees, that's a different story. But somebody who is there and trying to work and wants to be part of, there's different ways of doing it. And I guess that's why it comes down to the personality, right? There are certain principles that you're going to live by. And if you're going to live by those and you're going to create your company based on those, then you're going to do the same with the people that you work for and that work for you. And it's always, and I go back to the same line every single time, back with Simon Sinek, where he talks about being in charge is not about the people that you're in charge of. It's about taking care of those in your charge. Mm-hmm. And if you're not willing to do so, or better yet, you need to know that you're willing to do so before someone comes into that company, mm-hmm. whoever it is. And yes, if it's somebody that you like, it's one thing. Sometimes it's not somebody you like. Sometimes it's somebody that's completely different from you, where, like, I know, and me and Siobhan have spoken about this multiple times before, I know I am not good with spreadsheets and numbers and processes and all those very, very minute detailed things. And yet there are people who, to me, seem boring as all hell, but they're amazing at that. And they are perfect in a position like that. And in all honesty, a company cannot run without somebody being on top of those processes and numbers and and monitoring and measuring everything that goes on in the business to make sure that you're always growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that I had
and as you know, Craig, I am a huge fan of processes, procedures, and spreadsheets, and boring as hell. And I'm big on those. And it's, as we're talking about hiring, and I think that it's important that you have those processes and those procedures, the KPIs, the key performance indicators, worked out for each position, the exact job description that you need to have worked out for that position before you hire the person. Because you need to know what their job description, exactly what are they going to be doing? What are you going to be tracking and measuring and monitoring as their performance indicators to track, are they doing the job adequately, or are they not? Or should they go somewhere else, or should you let them go? So, because without that, I think that you're being unfair to the employee if you don't have those things laid out before you bring the employee on to know are they truly doing the job as efficiently and profitably as they could be? And how do you know that if you don't have the KPIs and the processes and the procedures and the onboarding procedures and everything that you need worked out for that employee before you bring them on? So.
For
I think
sure.
that's brilliant, by the way, because so many times it's not a bad employee. They're just in the wrong position.
Very much so.
There's a lot of really great people out there that get fired, and you're like, man, but that person was so great. Yeah, but they sucked at their job. Well, that's just because they were in the wrong job. You can't, again, I am not, sounds like I've got to like get a Siobhan or another Leslie in my life, which I have my assistant that's like that, in fairness. She is the processes and paperwork and number cruncher, and that's what she does, which is awesome. But that's like not me, right? So if you put me in that position, I'm going to get fired. That's just the way it's going to happen. I'm going to get fired really quickly. Yet I think that listen, there's few people that are going to put in the effort and the work and ethic that I've got. But if you ask me to do accounting or bookkeeping, then you're going to fire me quickly, right? So it's about finding out. So many times, to Craig's point, people just need a job and they'll just take anything. And you've got to recognize what people's gifts and talents are and what their work ethic is and who they are, because maybe they're just in the wrong position.
Well, and sometimes there's things that come up that, if I may, Jenner, jump in here, is when all the business consulting that I've done is that there's also times that through the course of a company, they have positions that have cross-pollinated or cross-referenced to where now that position is doing these 14 responsibilities, and the primary person who is in that position only really should be doing 10 of those, and 6 of those that have been added to that position through the course of time. It's a matter of separating out so that that person's talent and natural gifts and abilities can shine and do those 10 amazing, and that those other 6 that got tacked onto that position through the years was actually a part of another division through a process of growth or skill sets of the people that are in them, right, when you're hiring as well. Because it's important that everyone understand what their role is and feel comfortable with every aspect of it, and have the opportunity to be flexible enough that, hey, Bob over here thinks that, Sally's doing this part of her job terrible, and come to find out Bob would really love to do that and take it off Sally's plate because it's really his forte and he knows exactly how to do it, and he's just dying at chomping at the bit to get to it. So there's a lot of creative flexibility that can come there too. And then something else I wanted to tap on was about the team feeling of everyone in their position. And what he did is the management comes in and does everything. Well, I used to be a national troubleshooter for a very large property company in the United States, and it was because of property management. You've got the maintenance man, you've got the painter, you've got the housekeeper, you've got the leasing agent. So, and those two worlds saw each other as like the enemy. And so what I did is trying to explain to them, none of you have a job if we don't each do our job. And so I had each of them do each other's job. So the leasing agent had to go and do maintenance, and the housekeeper had to go show apartments, and the maintenance man had to go walk property and do a budget, so that then they recognize the ecosystem of how all parts are just as valuable as each other, regardless of who shows up into a tie and who's, making sure that the grounds look great. And so that's also another thing you can do.
Yeah, that's like saying, what's your favorite limb? Is it your right arm, your left arm, your leg, your right leg, left leg, right foot? What's your favorite limb? And just to finish off my thought from before is, I have a friend of mine who had somebody that he hired in sales, and he was going to fire him, but instead he put him in the accounting department. Now he's the CFO of the company. He promoted him to CFO, and he says now that without him, his company wouldn't run. And this is somebody that was this close to getting fired for just not being great at communicating with people, and just not great at sales, and great at mastering his, didn't have his influence mastery down, and he was going to get fired. Now 10 years later, he's the CFO and an invaluable part of the company. Matter of fact, I think he was even awarded a piece of the company, because that's how important a position he plays now. So you just never know. Just look at your employees and see, maybe it's not that they're not a good employee, maybe they're just in the wrong job, which then you have to look at your management, look at yourself to see if you're doing the adequate job of placing them in the right place.
And that happens
I
by
appreciate it.
asking them if they feel served by you. Are they having everything that they need to be able to perform their job? Because that's keeping that trust and safety, because I'm a Simon Sinek fan too. So,
Absolutely. That goes with the hiring slow part, right? That goes with what we're
Right,
talking about with
exactly.
Craig, with the multiple meetings and in different areas and in different places so that their personality comes out. And it's that courtship, right? You're getting to know them and what are their strengths and what are their weaknesses? What are their goals? What are their dreams? What are their visions? And is that going to fit within your culture as well? And really taking the time to get to know them. And one of the things that I always ask anybody that I bring on board in my firm is, what are your goals? What are your dreams? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I'm not talking about, I just want to work at a place that I can call home type of answer. What do you want in your life in the next 5 years? Because I want to know how my firm can help serve that. How can I help you accomplish where you want to be in 5 years? Because if I can help you accomplish getting there, you're going to help me accomplish what I want in my vision and my goals. So
Help enough
Exactly,
people
and
get what they want, they're going to get what you want. Inevitably, you'll get what you want.
I found that, and over, just because I know we're coming up on where we're like sort of a little bit past the time, and I want also to ask Jonathan if there's anything that he wanted to jump in or add in at any given time. Don't feel pressured to, don't worry about it, just offering the space to you. But this whole idea of people being able to speak to each other, huge shift. Two of the biggest shifts that actually happened for businesses that I was working with over COVID actually was a business owner being told of a large property management company actually to have conversations with people in their division heads 15 minutes a week. They had 8 division heads, like major, like higher ups, and I had them have 15-minute conversations a week for a month with each one, and they weren't allowed to talk about work. They were only talking about their personal lives and allowing them to talk about, so how are things going, at home, in your life? Is there anything you want to do? Is there any fun that you're missing in your life? Something about that. And it completely changed. Another one was actually, Tony, was actually changing two of the bigger people in the company changing their titles. And it was simply that. Did nothing else but change their titles. We have such a big focus of mine is emotional intelligence. We have such an attachment to language. We don't realize that just having a title tells not only us what we're doing, but tells everybody else what we're supposed to be doing. So if you're going to tell somebody that they are, let's say, the vice president, and then there's the CEO, who do you go to when you have a problem? Well, if you have a problem, you go to the CEO. He's the one that's going to fix everything. It's his company. But the vice president is the one that's on the floor dealing with the people.
That's a big challenge. That's one of the biggest challenges that I wanted to say before we cut this off is, when you're a very small company and you're wearing all the hats, you're wearing 16 different hats. You're the CFO, you're the CMO, you're the this, you're the that, you're customer service, you're the chief toilet washer and whatever else. You're doing all of it. But as you get bigger, you've got to have.
How did you know what my wife told me I was supposed to do?
Sorry?
So I said, how did you know my wife told me what I was supposed to be doing?
Hey, listen, I'm making dinner right now. Is my wife. I told Siobhan that.
Sorry, T, I was joking. She's going to see this. I'm joking. Sorry.
No, but the reality of it is most people, they don't get the education of how to form your business and what positions need to be filled first and next and next. So there's people that, I see people all the time. They start a company. They say, I'm the CEO of the company. Okay, awesome. And, but who else have you got? Do you have the marketing officer? Do you have, the VP? And do you have the director of sales? Do you have the director of, you've got to have a lot of people. As they get bigger, they don't understand that they've got to fill these positions, these executive positions. And they keep doing, because ultimately, as a business owner, if your business grows big enough, the job you want is chairman. You don't want to be the CEO. You don't want to be the president. You don't want to be the vice president. You don't want to be the director. You want to be the chairman. As a business owner, you want to grow to the point that you're the business owner. So you're having those conversations when you need to.
Or simply owner.
Day to day.
Simply owner.
Just owner. And there's one big hack that on the hiring that we were talking about as far as you needing to know how to do it before it. This is just a little hack that I did when I was starting out and I absolutely needed help and like I was drowning. And so what I did is I went ahead and hired someone who had a skill set that I did not have. However, one of their duties was to create their SOP for their position as they went along. So that should something happen to them for whatever reason, was that at least some of the steps were there. But to say, you do this, this is how you do it, 1, 2, 3, and created her SOP as she moved along into the position. And you can do that over and over again as you're building if you need to. So that's just a real quick hack because I know we're short on time.
I'm going to give it this because I think this is so important because I'm also a business strategist for those of you guys who don't know, and I actually study this stuff. One of the little hacks when you've
you really?
Yeah, one of these hacks where you've got to fire an employee that you've been hesitating firing because they're pivotal. They're like, man, if I do this, my business is going to suffer. Have them say, hey, listen, man. You're doing such a great job. Here's what I want to do. I want you to have an SOP. What's your standard operating? You've done such a great job. Show us what you're doing. Because maybe we're going to move you up in the company or however you want to structure it. Have them create that SOP, the standard operating procedure, so that people can know. If you come in to Siobhan's point, if they don't know what's expected of them, then you can't blame them for not knowing what to do. But if somebody's doing a great job, have them do the standard operating procedures. Hey, listen, you're doing such a great job. I'd like to send somebody in just so you can train them so they can be better at their job and get that going so that then when you do have that, the SOPs, and if this guy is a real SOB, then you can just get rid of him. And you've got that SOP in place that you can then just hand off to somebody else. And honestly, sometimes promoting from within is the best, but not always.
Not always. Oh my God. Thank you guys so much. Jonathan, I know that again, we're so far over with what we normally do, but I appreciate this conversation. Tony, I thought you were only sticking around for a minute or two. You stuck around this whole time and gave us so much wisdom over here. Listen, we give you a spot. You're welcome to anytime, brother.
Yes.
Leslie, thank you so much also for your experience.
So come on.
Jonathan,
happy to be of benefit.
Anything you got for us?
Anything, Jonathan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just taking a back seat here, just listening. And I have to say, I agree with pretty much everything you guys discussed. Just to give you a little context about myself, I've actually run 39 different corporations, 5 of my own. So I've done quite a bit of hiring on myself. I'm a big fan of culture, as you can see in my hat.
Yeah, love it.
So it's funny you guys talked about that earlier. But yeah, like you guys discussed, I think having the right people are the most essential part, of any business, having the right people in the right positions, and them having a clear understanding of what's expected of them. That's why I'm a big fan of standard operating procedures. I do not delegate what I do not know how to do. And, obviously there's certain specialized knowledge, like IT work, I might not do that, for example, but, there's certain things that I do not delegate unless I know everything that's required. And I'm a big fan of measuring as well. Siobhan talked about the, KPIs. I'm a big fan of tracking. What gets measured gets improved. So those are things that I'm always monitoring. But going back to what you guys said is, it's 100%. Oh, hello.
There.
Yeah, we're still here.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really just having the right people in the right place. And one of the things that, just to add a little value to that, I don't think we discussed this, but one of the things that I've done in my personal businesses that I think has been of value for me has been anybody that's in a key position in my company, whether it's been in a sales position or leadership position, I ask them to take a DISC assessment. I think personality assessments are important because it shows me what kind of person am I putting on. It's like figuring out where to put whether you're putting the round pegs in square holes or in round holes. You know what I mean? So it helps me understand what motivates them. I think understanding what motivates great employees is also important, because again, even having the bad employees are going to be a drag on great employees. So it's like, what's the saying, one bad apple ruins a bunch. So I really do believe in praising when it's like praising quickly, but also, you know, letting people go that are just not a good fit for the position. You guys talked about everything that I pretty much resonated with everything.
Listen,
So.
you run
'Cause
39
it's so
companies.
costly. It's
next
so
time I'm gonna be here
costly to
not
hire
having
out of
a word.
alignment. Sorry. I said
Sorry,
it's so
didn't hear.
costly to hire out of alignment. Like,
Of course.
so
that's-
downtime and the wasted and the retraining, and I mean, it's just way more costly than to, like you said, don't hire too fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've always been a fan of exactly what you guys talked is hire slow, because it takes me more time and energy to have to replace somebody that's just not a good fit than to take my time hiring somebody that is the right fit. When in doubt, keep interviewing. I believe in that. So, and then have obviously the right SOPs in place so that everybody knows what they're supposed to do when they're there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for coming on. I think this has been an amazing show. Again, you're all welcome back next week, Tuesday at 6:30, as we continue on our series of the mistakes that business owners make. I feel like we could probably continue on this topic as it probably for 4 more weeks. It's such a big topic, but we're going to continue on in our series. Everyone feel free to give their contact information. You can type it in. It's on Facebook Live under my page right now. Craig is tagged in it. Tony's tagged in it. Jonathan's tagged in it. Leslie, I don't know that we're friends on Facebook, so I didn't tag you in the Facebook Live. But if we're not,
I'll throw it in the chat.
there, but we're all there, and everybody put in their contact information. Mine, of course, is posted right there on the screen. You can call me at 813-501-7721 or info@oliverolaw.com. And if you're watching on Facebook, then you already know how to reach me, and you can send me a private message in there as well. And I'll be happy to respond. Craig, if you want to give any contact information for yourself.
I am the same way. I followed your lead, Siobhan, and I put my contact information right on the screen. So if you're looking at this, watching this on Facebook, you could definitely contact me through my phone number, 347-607-1213, or Craig at impactinfluence.com. At any time, you can message me on Facebook, or you can find me on LinkedIn. It is also a very easy way to get me. I'm usually spending my time on. And at any given time, feel free to also email us at leadershipbydesign630@gmail.com. Any questions that you have, any ideas that you have, anything that you want to discuss, whether you want us to discuss it, bring other people on to discuss it, or you want to come on yourself and go through it with us. Whether you've been through it before, you're looking how to get through it, we will always love the opportunity to delve into these issues, because you know what, if you're going through it, if you have gone through it, if you know somebody who's gone through it, chances are other people are too, and you can always be of service in helping them find and navigate their ways through any issue and scenario that we're going through in life and in business in particular. We always want to be able to create our leadership in our lives and our business by design, how we want it to be. So we welcome anybody to come and join us here.
All right.
Amazing.
Anybody else?
Have a great night.
Feel free to give your contact information. I've copied it all. I'll put it in the chat of the Facebook Live as well. But if you want to give it here while we're talking, feel free.
Yeah, listen, I'll give mine. You can follow me at Tony Rodriguez 2.0 on Instagram, and on Facebook you get me at Get Up and Grow with Tony Rodriguez. I'm life and business strategist, certainly, and I've also been a real estate broker for 30 years. I'm with eXp Realty and growing my team on that as well. So if you have any questions and want to know more, just reach out. I'm easy to find.
All right.
Amazing.
Here, Jonathan?
Yeah, sure. So can you hear me? Okay.
Yep.
So Jonathan Nieto, my phone number is going to be there, 305-505-8705. My company's name is Real Marketing Strategies. We handle anything that has to do with digital media production to creating advertising campaigns to bring in business. We're just looking to help people grow and get some more business. So that's exactly what we do. My email is advertise@real. That's 2 E's. So it's two, like a fishing reel. It's an acronym. I'll tell you guys later about it. But realmarketingstrategies.com. So advertise@realmarketingstrategies.com.
All right.
Amazing. Leslie?
Get in the thing now.
Well, they can't, nobody else on Facebook is going to see your chat, so you're welcome to share
no,
it.
no,
live.
I put it into my name down below.
Oh,
I
perfect.
spelled it wrong.
Joy at
I spelled it wrong.
leslienicole.com.
Spelled it wrong. It's LeslieNicole.com.
It's Leslie, everybody, not Lelsey.
It's not Leslie. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's Leslie Nicole, Lesley Nicole at leslienicole.com.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. This has
Amazing.
been absolutely wonderful. I appreciate you all so much. Have a wonderful evening. Have an amazing happy new year to you, your families, everybody. Please enjoy the rest of this holiday season and jump into a 2021 by design at your highest level.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Everybody.
There you go. All right, guys.